evening, guys, and happy Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. Guys, I woke up so late today. I think it was just because over the weekend I had been waking up so early and I kept going to bed late. Yesterday night was actually I think the earliest that I fell asleep all weekend. I ended up falling asleep I think around 12:30 or 1 o'clock maybe at the latest, but that was the earliest all weekend that I actually fell asleep. So yeah, I woke up actually pretty late today, but my dad was home because both my parents had to go, and I don't know, they had some meeting thing or something like that that they had to go to. So my dad was home earlier, well, not earlier, but he was home all day today, but they didn't have to go until later in the afternoon, so he actually went to Jack's football practice. And so like I said though, he was home all day today, but we didn't do any projects or anything like that, because it wasn't planned. I didn't also think about it ahead of time either, oh, he's gonna be home, because I knew that, again, I wasn't completely sure when they had to go to this thing today, and I also wasn't completely sure either when if my dad was going to Jack's practice and if when. So anyways, that's why we didn't really have anything planned as far as getting anything done. I ended up I edited and uploaded today, and I also got to dishes today. I also set up my planner for this week. On top of that too though, guys, we have been watching now, finally. I was I think I told you guys this over a month ago when Stranger Things, the newest season, the 4th season I think it is, ended up coming out. I think I told you guys I was I needed to rewatch because I thought I had only not seen the second episode of the last episode of the 2nd season. That was as far as I watched up to, and I realized I think I didn't watch about 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes from that season. So I watched it when it first came out, the first couple episodes, and I don't know why I randomly ended up didn't finish watching it. And so I never had seen the 3rd season, and so everybody else had 2 years ago I think though, when season 3 came out, everybody ended up watching it together, and we watched the 2nd season all together also. And the 1st season, when it came out, I originally really wanted to watch it, and I think I waited a little while, and I saw my mom watching it, and then I was oh, I really should watch this. So then I watched it, and then slowly everybody else started watching it after me, the very 1st season. And so then we watched sort of the 2nd season, the 1st episode together, as a family, and then we ended up everybody sort of ended up binging it afterwards. So then we all sort of went our own ways and watched it at our own time. And so I think that's why I didn't finish watching. Like I said, I don't know why randomly the last 3 episodes, but then I never seen the 3rd season up until, like I said, I think it was about a month ago. So I finished watching that in anticipation of watching the new season. So we ended up watching that finally, because Matthew was taking so long too, because he was no, I want to rewatch everything, and so he did, and then he didn't finish watching the last 2 episodes for forever. So finally now we are all watching the newest season, which is honestly, I have to say, I feel it's maybe one of the best seasons, just, I don't know, maybe suspense wise and stuff like that. And also too, we haven't finished it yet. We still have the last 2 episodes. I only thought there was 1 episode left, but I guess there's 2. And I looked though, the episodes were normally an hour and 20 minutes almost. And then the last episode is I think 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 20 minutes, close to that. There's almost 4 hours of this show still left that we actually haven't finished watching. Whereas it's just 2 episodes, but it's almost close to 4 hours worth. Because I know the last episode was 2.5 hours or something like that. But like I said, they, they're longer than it's episodes. And so but combined, I was that's almost 4 individual episodes, when you consider it's almost 4 hours worth. So like I said, I feel it's suspense wise and story wise maybe a little bit too. I really feel this is maybe one of the best seasons actually so far, even though I think I mentioned this before when I was telling you guys, the 2nd season to me I think was probably my least favorite. And it wasn't just because I felt the story wasn't quite as good, but I felt in the 1st season and even the 3rd season, and I feel especially this season almost a little too much, everybody's sort of in their own little groups, and then they're all kind of uncovering things and finding, you know, figuring things out and stuff like that, as it's also being revealed to like the viewer. And so I feel like that's just like a super cool way of like storytelling. But like it's like each, you know, like group, you know, especially like really in the first season, has like this little bit of information to try and sort of uncover this whole thing, you know, whole story, which I think was, like I said, just a really cool way of storytelling. But in the first one, I think that it's like super apparent. The second one didn't really, I don't know, it didn't have that quite as much, and then I think the third one really had that. But I think the fourth one, like the story also too, is probably the best as far as just like the big reveal. Also too, just explaining more things too, as far as like the you know, like I guess the details, the finer details, but in a really, really good way. Because sometimes I feel like when shows or, you know, movies, whatever, you know, movies and a series try and go back and like try and explain things like after the fact, sometimes it's not always like amazing, but I actually think this was done really well. So like I said, that's why we've been watching that. But I didn't realize this, because again, we had started watching it late, but I know because my mom was watching Ozark. I didn't realize that Netflix now, with their like series, they only release like the first half of the series, and then they release like the second half of the series, like, you know, so season 4, whatever, I think it has, I don't know, 9 episodes or something like that, or 10 or something, I don't know, let's just say it's like 9. I think they released like the first 4 episodes or something like that, and then they released the next like 5. Like I said, I think it's somewhere around there. But they do it like in chunks instead of like just having the entire season out at the same time. I think I had mentioned that before, like maybe it was like during WandaVision when that was on Disney Plus, like was first coming out. I don't know if I really like that, because sometimes you just want to binge through an entire like series, and that's why Matthew actually, with a lot of the Disney Plus series, he was like waiting until the entire thing came out so he could just watch it all at one time instead of like one episode at a time, unless we were like specifically all watching it together, which for the most part we have. But sometimes when we're like, oh, Matthew, you know, like if he's at school or whatever, and we're like, oh, you know, you should catch up on the series or whatever, and he's like, okay, but I'll wait till it all comes out and then just binge it. And like I sort of like that, but at the same time too, I feel like a lot of the, especially for certain things, a lot of the like fan theories, and also to just the suspense in general, because a lot of times they leave you almost with like a series ending, like sort of like, you know, what's gonna happen sort of thing, and it's not as impactful when you can just watch the next episode right away. So I feel like that is, I sort of like that, but at the same time too, I sort of don't like that. It's one of those, like, you know, when, again, before there were streaming services and you really wanted to watch the next episode of something because it left you on a cliffhanger, you still had to wait until the next week. You know, it didn't just, you couldn't just binge the next episode afterwards. And so, like I said, I feel like that a lot of TV and things like that, and like especially like streaming services that have like series, really lose that impact, because you do just watch the next episode to get the answer that you're looking for, instead of, again, either having people theorize about it, or also to just like from the viewer, like, you know, being in so much suspense that they have to watch the next episode as soon as it comes out, you know. And so then obviously viewing and like ratings and stuff like that sometimes wind up being higher, because, especially more viewing, I guess, because, you know, you're waiting so much for the next episode to come out after the huge, you know, like I said, like cliffhanger. And with binging, like, you don't, it's just like you just watch through the next thing. And I think that sometimes maybe we take that for granted a little bit, as just having, again, streaming services at our fingertips, we can just watch the next episode, you know. And so it does lose some of that in that storytelling aspect even too, because you can just watch the next episode. So like I said, I like it and I don't like it at the same time, but I do like that, again, you get to join in and be at the same pace as everybody else, because again, like us, we're, you know, we didn't watch it when it first came out, and we didn't even, like, I think we honestly started watching it when, or like maybe a few days or something like that, because I saw people were like, oh, I'm getting ready to watch the next part of the, you know, Stranger Things, and I was like, oh, like, you know, we just started watching it or something like that. And so like other people are like trying to get caught up with like the whole, like, you know, series, or just the first part of the 4th season. I saw like a bunch of people posting about it, and so I was like, oh, like I didn't even know that, like, you know, they were doing that. But I do like that you get to sort of be at the same pace as everybody else. So like when you're left with a cliffhanger, everybody's all left at a cliffhanger at the same time, instead of just being like, you know, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, oh, just watch ahead, like that, you know, it doesn't even matter or whatever. It's like everybody's there at the same point and being able to theorize about the same things at the same time. And so like I said, I don't, like, you know, Netflix didn't used to be that way with their, you know, like I said, certain series and things like that. They never did that. Like the one that I can think of that I think would have been pretty good was when we watched Hill House. I didn't love the way it ended, but it was such like a suspenseful, like, TV series that I would have loved for Netflix to have done that at that time. Or it was like a once a week thing, or again, like a, you know, first section and then the second section of the series or whatever, because I had some things actually sort of ruined for me because of that. Like, you know, because everybody got to watch ahead. Everybody binged, you know, through it within the first, you know, few days that it comes out, and then I didn't get around to watching it until, again, maybe a few weeks afterwards, and stuff was spoiled and ruined for me. So like I said, that's why it does sort of stink, and I do like that, but at the same time too, I am a type of person that would just like to binge something if I have the option to. But at the same time too, sometimes I don't know, like, just like when to stop. Like I should just turn this off and be done with it for today. But you know, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna watch one more episode, I'm gonna watch one more episode. You know, like it'll be too late, and then I'll wind up staying up super late too because of that. But you know, like I said, it's just, I feel like it's good when you can't like just watch ahead with the whole thing. Like that's why too, like even right now I'm watching Downton Abbey, and it's not the most like suspenseful thing ever, but there are certain parts in it I would be like, oh, that you know, that's the last episode in that season, and you know, I can just watch ahead to the next episode, obviously because it's an older series though. But you know, like it does sort of lose a little bit of that suspense and that drama and stuff like that. But the one thing that I will say is that, like, even from a week-to-week basis, sometimes I do wind up forgetting what happens, and I'm like, I have to go back and watch the old episode. Like, especially when I would be watching things, like, before streaming services. Like, even Vampire Diaries, even though I think that was, like, they did have it, like, on Netflix or whatever, but they'd only have, like, you know, a few seasons, and then the other seasons were, like, live on TV. And so I had to, you know, like, I'd wind up forgetting sometimes what happened in the previous episode or episodes, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like, you know, that's what happened or whatever. Or if I ended up like a few days or a few weeks behind or something like that and having to catch up, like sometimes I couldn't always find the episodes, and then also too, sometimes I would forget what happened. And so like that's the thing that does sort of stink, you know. And if you don't have everything, like, again, just at your fingertips where you can rewatch it. So like I said, I don't know, I do like it a lot more that, again, you don't get the entire thing all at one time. At the same time too, I don't, like, you know, I do want to just be able to binge it and be over, you know, done and over with it at the same time. But, you know, it drags it on a little bit more, and it makes, you know, like, again, the build up and the hype better, I feel like. So I guess that is sort of good. But like I said, I've been really, really liking this. And from what I heard is that I think they will still be doing one more season after this, is that at least what Jack and Matthew have told me. I have not seen anything personally, and they might have, again, just read something online. I'm not 100% sure, and again, I don't entirely know how it ends, so I don't know if that's the case. But from what I have heard as of right now, like I said, they are possibly supposed to be doing a fifth and final, I think that will be the final season. Which will be pretty cool. At least I know that there will be a little bit more possibly left after this, at least. But I'm going to take a shower now and get to bed. I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. And I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.